like I said, I'm just so eager to hear. And so I'm also live on YouTube now. So the replay is going to be up. So anybody who's here now and you know you're not going to be able to stay, but you want to catch the replay will be live up on YouTube. I'm live streaming live right now on YouTube. And so although there's no replay on TikTok, you can come to YouTube. And how you can come over to my YouTube channel is go up to my bio here on TikTok and you should see a YouTube logo. And that'll link you immediately over to my YouTube channel where you can watch this replay should you want to come and watch the replay here today. So I have a good hour to allocate to be here, Falayan. Do you have a limitation of time?
No. I cleared my calendar for you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm just so thrilled. This is what matters. And so welcome for those of you who are here for the first time. My name is Naima, and I am the founder of the Academy for Womanhood, where we help women grow up and become unapologetic women who design their lives on true desires terms. My niece, who's 3, is here, and she's crying. So if you hear a baby in the background, that's her. It's hot. She's high energy, and they're getting ready to leave. So, so you may hear her crying in the background. And so typically when I come here on live stream on TikTok, YouTube, I'm here with a topic related to women at large, and then oftentimes with a focus on melanin dominant women getting free and coming into their true full power. Today is going to be a little bit different. Hello, pretty face. Thank you for following. Today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more of a podcast style where I'm going to be asking Falayan different questions and contributing my perspective. So I want to read the topic because I realized, the topic is on YouTube, but I just want to read it out loud just to put the energy of my voice on it. So today's topic is Black men lead collective thriving and Black women get free. And this conversation is through the lens of true love and metaphysics. Again, this conversation is through the lens of true love and metaphysics. And so I'm so grateful that for all of you who are here now, Falayan, thank you so much for saying yes to being here. And let me introduce you for those, so people can know. So Falayan is a member of my woman community. I have a woman community where melanin dominant women can come in and be supported, mentored, and coached in having the accountability and structure to come into their power. It's a lovely pussified dynamic because so much of our sexual power is very much in our wombs and pussy area. And so it's a very sacred space, really, for melanin dominant women to get a focus on their true power where, and I don't know anywhere else in the world that they can have this kind of attention and skill and care on cultivating their true power. And Falayan is a member of that community. And I remember when I came across Falayan on TikTok, maybe 6 months ago, something like that. And the love was there. And I DM'd Falayan. I can't remember if you DM'd me first or I DM'd you, but I remember I DM'd you and I'm like, where are you? And asking all the questions. And eventually I, invited Falayan to come into the woman community. So Falayan is a metaphysicist. She has a heart and soul passion for metaphysics. And so she's going to be sharing her teaching and her soul's calling around if melanin dominant folks as a collective are going to thrive, then melanin dominant men need to lead that charge. Can I get a witness? Can I get an amen? Let me repeat that. In order for melanin dominant people worldwide to thrive, although Falayan is definitely focusing on African American melanin dominant folk, okay? Where she's focusing on the America, okay? That in order for the collective of us to thrive, melanin dominant men need to lead that charge, okay? So this is a great part of the perspective that Falayan is going to be sharing here. And she and I are going to bounce back and forth between the topic while also getting into the necessity for, as melanin dominant men are leading the collective charge, that Black women take responsibility for getting free, take responsibility for their full power, okay? So, am I right so far? Are we on track for Lion?
On track, yes. On track, on track.
Beautiful. So now, without further ado, I introduce us all to Falion. Falion, please introduce yourself. Say hi. Let the people hear you, see you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Falion, and I adore this woman, Naima. You probably have seen her content. Obviously, she exudes pure power, and I was really attracted to it. I like dillied and dallied because I wasn't ready, but I knew that she was a person I wanted to talk to and work with because I love how she embraces her power, and I knew that I had these desires around metaphysics and teaching and everything, but I needed somebody to help me bring that out. So Naima's been absolutely pivotal in helping me do that. Like Naima said, I am in love with everything magic and metaphysics. Metaphysics, if you don't know, it just involves the idea that energy is the center of everything. It's the way that our world works, it's the way that our universe works, it's the way that your experience works. Everything's sourced from your energy. So my whole thing is that if you want to move anything, if you want to move a community, if you want to move yourself as a woman, if you want to move your children's experience, you always start with energy because it's like a lever. You can work through the 3D, like through your actions, but if you work through energy, you have infinitely more power to move things. And the reason that I love metaphysics is because it absolutely changed my life. I have a very interesting story, Naima. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about my story, but
of course
my
you are.
Very interesting.
Of course you are. It's part of your dynamic.
Okay, well, my story is interesting because I've had an experience from like two levels, two ends of the spectrum. Like, I'm like Ivy League educated. I'm, blah, blah, blah. I work in tech. But also at the other end, I've been extremely poor. Probably poorer than most of you. I've had like as much childhood trauma as one can experience. So I've had like this dual level of things, and when I came into adulthood, I found myself really struggling with life because I had all these issues, stemming from my past, stemming from being in my family, stemming from being a Black or melanin dominant environment, a lot of things. So I had always been in love with magic, like fantasy books. I'm like a fantasy addict. But as I grew, I realized really what I was into was metaphysics, which is the idea of manipulating your reality using energy. And so I heard The Secret. Like I saw the movie in 2009 or so with everybody else, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. Like, I'm just going to make a vision board and I'm going to create my own reality. And so I started to do that, and I was really diligent. I was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I worked at it, and nothing really moved. And it was not until, I have this famous story about I found this famous coverless book when I was living in Hawaii, and it was teaching all about the power of subconscious mind. And it was everything that is beneath the surface, really what metaphysics is, really how to manipulate my energy, the frequency that I'm putting out. And I was like, okay, it sounds good. Obviously I had read a lot of things that sounded good, and I was like, well, it sounds good, it sounds right, but let me actually put it into practice. So I put it into practice. I made a whole plan. I called it the 90-day ultimate reset. I put it into practice, and my whole life shifted. Like after the third week, and I was like, oh my God, because I've been pushing for so long.
Yeah.
So anyway, out of that wonderful experience of seeing how if I actually put into practice metaphysical practices, my life shifted. So I have a passion for teaching women, especially melanin dominant or Black women, how you have a lot of power to shift your life, and like teaching those tips that really helped me out. So
yeah. Oh girl, I'm just tingling and just wait. I hope my phone don't. I hear something in the back. You hear something like a washing over?
Yeah, I hear like a buzz.
Well, we're gonna keep it moving and see. I was live on Sunday and my phone got too hot, but that's because it was plugged in.
Let me see if I mute myself.
Oh, that's your end. Yeah, when you muted yourself, it went away. Are you on a phone? Yeah, you're on a phone.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Is your phone hot? Are you around fans or anything?
Yeah. No fans, no heat.
Yeah, that's on your end. That's definitely on your end. As soon as you muted yourself, it went away. So what we'll do is when you're not talking, go ahead and mute yourself. Okay. So the we're not by the sound. Very good. So thank you, Falion, for introducing yourself. And I want to say hello to the folks who are already commenting. Thank you for sharing the live stream. I think I saw Tia shared. I think Queen Zeno shared. Thank you for sharing the live stream. Hi, Jazzy. Who else? I feel like I missed some folks. Hey, Ruby. So yeah, you all are welcome to comment and be involved over here today. And I want to get straight to it, Felion. Um, when you said it, I can't remember if you said it in a piece of your content or where I heard you say this, but you were like, in order for melanin dominant folk as a collective to thrive, melanin dominant men need to lead that charge. And I had questions, right? I'm like, okay, so what, right? So are we just, and because I wanted to hear, especially as a metaphysicist, right? I particularly want to hear folks who are truly dealing at the realm of power about this. Because if you're not dealing, all these conversations that are being had about liberation and freedom and revolution and just any kind of change, right? The conversations are so limited if you're not, it's limited, period, if you're not talking about true power. If you're not talking about true power that is of a spiritual essence that exists in the invisible and the immaterial world, our conversation is going to get locked in all the 3D things we can see and track and measure and etc. Okay. And that's even a whole conversation about things that are immaterial that can be tracked. I mean, that sounds very interesting as well. But I want you to tell us what you mean by that, first of all. Tell us what you mean by that. That in order for melanin dominant folk as a collective, when I say collective, I mean globally. So although I know you're talking specifically about American Black men, as far as I'm concerned, that they're like the, the head of the collective of Black men around the world. So share with us, please, what do you mean when you say that in order for melanin dominant folk to thrive collectively, that American Black men need to lead that charge?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So Naima and I had this conversation. There's two levels, right? There's the Black community, which includes Black women, Black men, and Black children, and then there's Black women independently. So what I said was that in order for the Black community, meaning men, women, and children, to thrive, Black men collectively need to lead that charge. That is because, like everything, it has an energetic source. So we all know, like yin and yang, right? Yin pushes. Yin receives. We're yin. The feminine receives. The yang pushes. In order for a community that includes yin and yang to work, the pusher must be pushing and the receiver must be receiving. So if you have a pusher, the yang, stagnant, essentially, which I think we will all agree that's kind of where we are, then the collective will be stagnant. And if we have the yin, the receiver, pushing, which a lot of us are pushing our community forward, we're also going to have a short circuiting of power because it's out of natural order. So that's essentially the meaning. Also, from like that dynamic between men, women, yin, yang, if the flow of responsibility, I know that there are better ways to say that, but the flow of responsibility goes top down. It's going to go from the yang to the yin to make things happen. So if the yang is messed up, stagnant, whatever, the yin can never be free. So if we want men, Black women, and Black children to collectively be free, then the yang, i.e. the Black man, has to lead the effort. It has to be free flowing positive energy so that the whole cycle, whole process can process.
Yes. Beautiful. That's very clear to me. If anybody has any questions about anything that Felion or myself say today, feel welcome to ask them in the comments, okay? So I'm going to speak in what I think is in a lot of people's minds, right? And you already started it by saying if the yin, yang, which is the male, masculine, is stagnant, then the collective is stagnant. Did I hear you correctly? And so there's a collective agreement that the yang is stagnant. And so I want to connect this to a piece of your content I heard where you said Black men can be really mean and nasty. And then we can bring forth a lot of just content on the internet or just stories. We just the women in our lives, our own personal experiences with the Black male collective, and this is a bigger conversation. Please I don't want to hear from anybody about things that are going on in the 3D to point to why it's stagnant. Why? Okay, do not point to anything in the 3D to make your point. Okay, because everything happens in the immaterial before it happens in the material. Okay, and in 2024, we have access to vast knowledge. Any person who's sincere about changing their life, whether it be individually or collectively, you can literally go get $1 million plans for free on YouTube right now with a bunch of free content and build an online digital company with free content. It's ubiquitous. Anything you want to know in the occult world, in the immaterial world, historic, everything is available. Okay, so I'm saying that to everybody listening right now or even listening to the replay. I don't want to hear anything in the comments about, well, because slavery, that shit is so dead. That shit has been dead. And I'm saying that because I can already feel it coming. Some kind of story justification, okay? So, Felion, what do you have to say about this, what you call stagnation of the yang in today's climate where knowledge is vast? I mean, it's more vast and available now than ever, okay? And so what do you have to say about this stagnant energy? And if what you're saying is the absolute truth, I'm gonna talk about it as if it is the absolute truth, okay? That the collective will not be advancing. Okay, the collective will not be advancing until melanin dominant men collectively, meaning large numbers, get into the flow of true power and move like it. That's right. Yeah. So considering that, then are we doomed as a society?
We're not doomed at all. I have a lot to say about that. Can I go back and talk about all that?
Take you wherever you want to go.
We're better than doomed. Maybe I should start there. We are better than doomed. Why? Y'all have probably realized 2024, as Cat Williams said, is the age of truth, right? I'm sure y'all have seen it. It's happening in families, your friendships. It's happening, all over the place. It's because we're at a time. We're at an appointed time, divine appointed time where people need to wake up. So that it's like a force that cannot be stopped. You know what I mean? So like with Black men, I know that they seem to be stagnant, but nothing can stop this awakening. Nothing. The more people, I think a divine gift of the universe is that when the universe wants you to move, when it wants you to shift, if you do not shift, it will make your life a living hell. And I know this from experience, right? Some people will just get so frustrated with their lives. It's like, oh, okay, F it. Let me get to the business of moving. So no, we are not doomed. Okay, said that's it. Let me go back and talk about like why we're stagnant. Okay, and I will go back to slavery because it's important. It's important to know context, but we're in a time where it's like you have the opportunity, like you're gonna open the door or you're gonna stay, shut. A lot of people are. We have this whole past, like Naima said, I'm a Black American, so I can only speak on Black American stuff. But like I said, it relates to the collective. So metaphysically, slavery. We know slavery was all kinds of terrible, right? But the metaphysics are when it makes like total sense. If you look at my scale, Naima, I love to talk about the scale of consciousness. It's like my thing. Yeah. But if you look at the scale of consciousness, right, where you start at shame on the bottom, vibrating as low as you can go, all the way up to enlightenment at the top. Okay, we have this range of experiences. When you're vibrating in these lower experiences, you naturally attract lower experiences. When you're vibrating higher, obviously you attract higher experiences. So Black Americans were forced into lower vibrating echelons, especially use the tool of fear. If you look at slavery, it wasn't just slavery, right? There was slavery for this certain amount of time. Then we had Jim Crow and we had lynching. They were all tools to instill fear. Right. When a human being lives in fear, they cannot create higher. You're just like, you cut off at the knees. It's just like metaphysically, you're not going to create.
Right.
So that said, and then we add on to that epigenetics. Epigenetics is that our experiences from our ancestors, what vibrations they were living under, blah, 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 those get passed on to the child, right? So Black Americans have been entrained into these lower vibrating frequencies. That's a whole conversation. You can talk about it more later.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that said, that is a source of a lot of this stagnancy. If you look at it metaphysically as energy being the source, a lot of Black Americans have been entrained to this very fear-based state, which has caused a lot of low vibrating experiences, expressions. It limits your money. It makes your relationships turn to shit. You can't get along with other people. It's caused a lot of problems. Now that said, someone said reset. Yes, Tia Monique, we're at a point of reset where it's like you can choose to stay where you've been, or you can choose to go higher. We're given this divine opportunity. So, Black men are, I would say some are choosing. We all know great Black men that are doing the work, that are chosen to do the work, that, are chosen to advance into another frequency of experience. And I feel like those numbers are just going to increase because, not even because they want to, but because they must. Because we must.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I hope I answer your question. I feel like I was rambling.
Well,
was I rambling?
Go, because this is all divine anyway. I appreciate the fact that you just brought, you said we need context, and that's why I'm bringing up the whole essence of, you said in training. I like that word. You use the word in training to talk about the programming fear into the psyche, the body, the spirit of melanin dominant folk, and epigenetics. Okay, so the way things are carried on and down. So yes, this is something that is repeatedly brought up in conversations whenever we start to talk about liberation and getting free. Okay. And so I appreciate that you brought that perspective in, because I wouldn't, because where I stand, we all know that. Anybody who's in these conversations, even people who may not even be as advanced in these conversations, we're aware, but I just appreciate that you shared that, because I would not have. Okay. And so I'll speak through the lens of true love. Okay, that's why I put it also here. Let me enlarge my face here. The reason why it says here in the title on my screen is via true love and a metaphysical lens is because I knew Falion would be bringing the metaphysical lens, and I wanted to bring this through a true love lens. So where I live, okay, every day, where I exist, my decision making, how I move, is from a space of true love. Now, true love is so, how do I say? I was going to say not of this world. And at the exact same time, it's very much of this world. It's just disrespected heavily. Okay. And if you want to hear me talk about what I mean by true love, go to YouTube and watch the replay from last Friday. I was with a woman named Vanessa here on TikTok, and I went into my definition of true love. And so in joining this perspective that you're sharing, the metaphysical lens, and the energy of it, of the stagnation of the yang. Okay, so now energy of it, okay? The stagnation of the yang collectively. And that the few that have been, you use the word chosen, to ascend because they must, okay? And me over here with this vast lens of true love, okay? On over here in the world, the way you just described it, there's such a great, really, there's a density and the stagnation that you use and vast possibility. Okay. Then over on my end, it is so, it's impossible. There we go. It's impossible. And I don't mean it impossible as in impossible. I mean like the grand opportunity that is ever present. Opportunities. The grand, and the way I actually see it, with my very naturally optimistic, idealistic mind. The opportunities that I see dramatically abound all the time, that I even knew and felt as a teenager, is such a wide gap when we talk about what's actually going on the ground with the vast majority of melanin dominant men every day. So on an energy level, it's like, okay, where does attention go? Well, first of all, we are giving it attention by even talking about it right now. But for women who are like the woman who asked in the chat, what do Black women do about this, right? Because Black women always immediately want to do something about it. We almost, right? It's like we didn't talk, we've been talking. Folks is done, tired. Okay, what we gonna do? Okay, and um, my thought is, okay, so those few that have been chosen who are sincere about even being a leader as the head of thriving for the collective, while at the same time really knowing this on an energy and a spiritual level, the necessity for Black women to get free and what that looks like and what possibilities present themselves when the two or more right people are coming with this mind. I love your smile. Are coming with this mind. I mean, because I look at this from an ultimate high level. And I know most people don't really mean that. They love to talk about it, but most people don't really mean that. I actually mean that, which for me is part of what creates such a divide. I'm just like, that's why I didn't even want to bring up slavery. I'm like, all the possibilities are here now. Y'all can keep that. Yeah. So what do you have to say about this?
Okay. You saw me cheesing like that because I have so much to say. Okay. Let me not lose my train of thought. I'm going to talk about possibilities first, then I'm going to talk about like causes for stagnation. Yes, a lovely law of the universe is the law of compensation. Basically meaning like as bad as it got on that end is as good as it can get on the other end. So you ask how we as Black women posture ourselves in the possibility. That's what I say. Like,
that's where I live.
First of all, stop following. Oh, I got so many things to say.
Say it. You say what you was about to say. Stop following what?
Stop following all this negative stuff because it totally F's up your vibration.
Totally.
We are so
wait. We need to name the negative stuff. Let's be clear.
The negative stuff? Okay. So all the stuff saying Black women, you're not worthy. Black women, you're not this. Okay, first of all, there's this idea in the Black woman community. I was like, there's like two kinds of us, like, I mean, let's be real. I'm seeing some, I was like, that is not me, and that's like nobody I know. And maybe some people I've seen at the laundromat, but I was like, I don't know anybody like that. So first of all, there's this like, I feel like there's two kinds of women either they're talking about, but it's always aimed at one type of women, and that can really, it makes me angry. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, whoa, stop. Yeah. Our attention and our vibe and our presence as melanin dominant, melanin rich Black women is so valuable, it's so rich that we have to determine where we're going to put it. Do not put it on things that tell you you're not worthy, that you'll never get married. I want to get married, so I talked to Naima about this, that you'll never get married, that you're a bad counterpart, that the state of the Black community is all your fault. Stop giving that any of your attention, because as we know, where attention goes, energy flows. Yeah. So we want to pull our energy back from that stuff, first of all. That's one thing that we can do.
Anything else?
We said what? Anything else?
What I was thinking was even all the negative talk about Black men.
Yes.
What about that? Like all the negative talk, even the red pill, all that. Like all that.
Turn it off. Turn it down, turn it off, swipe, whatever. Yeah. It needs to lose its power because so some people say like, I hate social media, it's dividing us, like with this gender war. And I say no, it's just highlighting things that have been lurking beneath the surface in the collective consciousness that everybody was afraid to say. Yeah. So with healing, Naima, like you can never heal what you don't acknowledge. So that stuff was just lurking beneath the surface, like all this anger, all this back and forth. It's just been under the surface. So it's good when we look out and see this gender war. It's a good thing because it's a healing process. It's us going from this state of like, let's not really talk about how I really feel, to a place where we're being honest and it may be hurt, but we're taking the Band-Aid off so that healing can happen.
Yes.
I want to say this too. Can I say something?
Of course.
you gonna say? Okay. You said, what can Black women do? What can melanin dominant women do? And it's about sex. Okay. Naima, you talk about the power of the womb. Sex is one of the most powerful forces of the universe. It creates worlds. It creates humans. So it needs to be used well.
And deliberately.
I personally feel, this is me personally, I personally feel that a lot of the downfall of Black men has been because of a lack of sexual discipline. Okay? So, I feel like if you think about what caused this, that's a huge part of it, just because your sexual energy and lust is, if used inappropriately, can cause the downfall of a being. Now, Black melanin dominant women on the other side, what we also need to do is practice sexual discipline. I'm not talking about being a prudish or whatever, but you choose very carefully who you interact with, who you're kissing, who you're sleeping with, who you're entertaining, because again, our energy is so powerful, it's so potent, our attention, our focus is so important. So if we give that away to the wrong people, we end up fucking up a community as well on the other end. So.
That right there in and of itself is a school. It's a whole actual school of, this is the school of sex power for melanin dominant women. Melanin dominant people. This is the sex school for melanin dominant people. And these people are matriculated through maturity, through knowledge, through all the energies of life, the metaphysics of life, the heart of life, the soul. Right? And those people only mate with each other. I mean, really, that's a whole, because see, it's so easy to say this stuff, but to live this stuff is where the magic is. To live it. Not just, I need regular pussy, so let me marry her. Well, I can get my needs met. It's not that big a deal. I need a dick. Send him over here. He can come over here and lead a night. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, you're going to pay for that, baby. In more ways than one. And that links, and you didn't finish your thoughts. I was waiting for you to get into, you were saying you were going to talk about two things. Do you remember what those two things were? No. So that links to, you really don't know who you are. The only way you can even do that is because you don't know who you are. As soon as you know who you are, and again, I'm assuming I'm talking to the reverent amongst us, okay? I'm talking to the royal amongst us, not the people who want to be royal because it sounds good. I mean, those of you who have known since you were children that you were superior, that you had the keys to life, to the universe. And I mean this truly at deep, deep levels, not because you want to be spiritual on the internet and feel important. But for those of us who have truly been of a royal essence since birth, when you know who you are, there's no way, when I think about, and I don't regret this one dude, I'm just like, ugh, when I think about the sex with him. But who I am today would not, I mean, anything is possible, I could do, right? But who I know I am today, and who I always knew, but I hadn't owned her, that's a whole other conversation, could not, because I am vastly aware of the power that is here. Vastly aware. And when both melanin dominant men and melanin dominant women go through the school, I mean an actual structure school, okay, to come into the energy of who they are, where it's experienced. It's not like, well, let me read about the energy from this group of people. And no, it's interactive, hands-on, getting to know who I am by interacting with you, with me in real life. Because once you know yourself experientially, not just conceptually, because you read that in ancient Egypt, this is what the pharaohs did, and this is what the queens did, and this, but you're not connected to that for real. You do all of that reading stuff to feel like you know something and try to find out who you are. But when you actually get a chance to sit down with a melanin dominant man or woman, even woman and woman, man and man, with the intent to come to know who you are, with the intent to know true love, with the intent to be free, to be the lead, all the knowledge that a book could never tell you would swell up. And when we have truth as the priority, this is the syllabus, okay? At the top of the syllabus is truth. And before you walk through the door, you sign on a dotted line that truth is what we're doing in here. And as soon as we smell lack of untruth, you need to come to the center of the circle and get confronted by everybody. You do that, and can't no book tell you shit, because you know it experientially, not just conceptually, because some master spiritual teacher on YouTube told you that you come from royalty. Okay? I wish I would have had my face bigger on here so we can have that as some replay. So, Felion, this is large and vast. I think, different conversation I've had with other melanin dominant women, or even that I'm seeing on the internet, large amounts of us have given up on Black men. Large amounts of us have been on the receiving end of abuse, abandonment, just negative experiences, right? From father, boyfriend, husband, ex-husband, baby brother, stepfather. I mean, and what you and I are talking about here is of such a high order. This is of such a high order. And I don't think that most of us, I want to say believe, but it's not a belief. Though most people live in the realm of belief. But most people don't exist at this knowing level, but I'll take it to believe, because I think most people here would latch onto the word belief. I don't think most of us believe that it's even possible for large numbers of melanin dominant, even with the great, what Kat said about the great revelation, about the great, revealing of truth and the emergence. On a collective level, I don't think most of us even believe this. That this can happen, will happen. When I say that this can happen, will happen, is that in very large numbers, the Black man will lead the collective of Black people to thriving. What do you have to say about that?
Well, first, I resonate with that fear, or that lack of belief. For me, it's like, I sure want it to happen, but gosh, I'm not seeing, evidence. I'm seeing, for me, a lot of the stuff I determine intuitively. I feel like intuitively, for me, 20% doing the work, healing, whatever. 80% stagnating. And those are really hard numbers, because we know that the 80-20 rule, we need 80% of something thriving for it to switch, at least 51%, right? So for me, it's saddening. But metaphysically, if we look at things, I look at the experience of my own life, there have been things where I'm like, is this really going to happen? I'm going to keep showing up, but is anything really going to happen? And I found that metaphysics doesn't work by linear evidence. It works magically. Right. All of a sudden I'll pop out and I'll be like, where did that even come from? It's just been brewing energetically in spirit until it popped out. So I approach this with the same approach that I have for any other part of my life, which is put in the work, put in the intention, hope for the best, and then kind of leave it alone, And I think that, in terms of Black men, and yes, most of us have a collective experience of some sort of abuse with Black men. I think that's safe to say as a Black woman. And I think two things. One thing is, because of the laws of the universe, self-preservation was number one. Your happiness, my happiness, my thriving, my joy, the love that I have in my life is way more important than what a Black man is doing. So search that out, first of all, because you know what I mean? You can't reach back and pull someone up when you're not thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So my own thriving, your own thriving as a melanin dominant Black woman is much more important than your counterparts. So first of all, you focus on your own happiness, because your own happiness, what do they say? The tide draws all boats up, or something like that. Mm-hmm. So your own happiness will cause magic in and of itself. Yeah. If Black women go their own way, and I don't mean it in the sense that these red pillars say go their own way, but if Black women put on, because we're so used to being like, well, they have a problem, let me go help them, let me push them, let me support you. And that's been our way, partially because that's who we had to be, right? It's time for Black women to make a pivot and put blinders on. Like, I'm here for my own happiness, my own liberation, even outside of your kids. You know, some of us sacrifice too much for our children. What's going to make me happy? What's going to make me thrive? What's going to make me be liberated? And your own liberation is going to do magic for your counterparts. First of all, come on, right? Come on. And then, second of all, with Black men, this is a choice. This is something they have to do together. Sometimes you just got to let someone do what they're going to do. You know, you got to let them be who they're going to be and do what they need to be done. Yes. And thirdly, I'm going to say this. Age of Aquarius. You know, I love to talk about we're in the age of Aquarius, where it's like, either you're going to, and I say this, it sounds kind of jacked up, but if you're going to remain on this planet, if your gender is going to remain on this planet, if your people are going to remain on this planet, you got to get right or get left. So it's like, they'll take care of it themselves, or the universe will take care of itself, and it's going to have balance, because that's the nature of the universe, is balance. So let it be, basically.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So I think this is a great segue into selfishness, because that's what you just said. You just didn't use the word selfishness. And I had a video that I never know how videos are going to do, right? I put out the content but I have a video that has over 200,000 views, tons of shares and engagement, etc. And it's only like maybe 20 seconds long. And basically it's saying being a wife and a mother is not what makes you a woman, but being selfish and making sure you're well taken care of does. And there was so much of this sentiment here that you're talking about how important it is for all women, really. And I know right now we're talking about melanin dominant women, to make sure you thrive, because when you thrive, you're a better mother. When you thrive, you're a better wife, assuming you're doing that, right? The wife and mother thing. When you thrive, you're a better human. When you thrive, you like you. You know, you respect you. You make advancing decisions when you thrive. So in the vein of thriving, I like to bring forward, I like for you to share. Oh my God, I'm so excited, because I have seen your growth over the last month, maybe something like that. And in the vein of thriving, Falayan, oh my God, I want you to share, because for those of you here who are ready to thrive, like you're ready to come out of hiding, like if you're ready to create content that's like, oh my God, I want to, I need to, my soul says so, but I'm so scared, but I'm ready. Anybody here who's dealing with that? Anybody here who's ready to be visible online? You're ready to, in video form, right? Anybody here who's ready for the accountability and structure of community? Anybody here who's ready to have fun? Who's ready to increase your abundance, and whatever abundance looks like for you, money, fun, connection, joy, you need to make your way into my Womanhood initiation, because that's the gateway into my woman community. Falayan is a member of my woman community, and Falayan has taken off just in the last month of being in the woman community. And I'm just gosh, like watching you do your thing is just, it's encouraging to me as the facilitator of the community and birthing it, and all the work that's required to make it go, and lead the womanhood initiations, and all the order that's required, right? And efforts on my part to ensure, right? And to see women like you thrive the way you've been thriving, it's like, it's worth it. Yes. You know? So thank you for being such a great example. You know, I'm just, you know, and even just saying yes, because you could have said no to me when I DM'd you. I have learned to be very okay with people saying no. You know what I'm saying? So I would like for you to share with the people. And so if you are any of the women that I just described, and you are hungry and needing and really grow up around your character, avoiding, hiding, etc., you need to come into my Womanhood initiation. They're happening this week only, and the first one is happening today at 5 p.m. Pacific. There are 3 more happening after today, so go ahead and register if this speaks to you. And if you can't come today at 5 o'clock, you can come to one of the others. And just know that this is a gateway into the woman community, and the woman community is $99 a month. Okay. So if you know you're not ready to invest $99 a month, you don't know community or anything that I've talked about here, do not sign up for the Womanhood initiation. But if you are ready for wealth and to get further faster and to start thriving in the way that Felian just shared, you need to go to the link in my bio right now, click it, and sign up for Womanhood initiation. If you're on YouTube, the link to the Womanhood initiation is in the description. So Felian, share with us what it has been like for you in the community and what results you have created as a result, specifically as a result of being active in the woman community.
Okay. So, how do I approach this? I told you all already that Naima is one of my favorite people. The power that I was seeing in her content when I was just lurking, I was like, I like what she's talking about. A lot of my journey as an eldest child, introvert, people pleaser, recovering, has been about learning to express my voice and learning to express my truth. And it was, I was doing all sorts of stuff around, like, speaking my truth. And I was like, I want to make content, but I'm afraid of all these 79 things. And that's when Naima started to come into the picture. Universe always supports you. So in comes Naima, like, hey, I have this thing you might. And I was like, resisting. And that urge, we all have this divine urge. When we ask for help, when we ask for solutions, something is going to come forth. So we just don't pay attention sometimes. So Naima was coming in, and I was like, And then I went to the womanhood initiation, and I was like, yes. Because why yes? One, because of Naima. Not just Naima. One thing I've learned on my path is that if you want to go faster, you always invest in yourself. So I realized, okay, I do care about expressing myself. I have some truths, some interest in metaphysics that I really kind of want to get out there. And I said, okay, I really like Naima. I really like the things she talks about. And then the second thing is you need community, especially as a melanin-dominant Black woman. We need community, and not just community like friends and family, which are great, obviously, but you need a community of women that are neutral to you in a way that will push you in the ways that matter. So, Naima went to the womanhood initiation, and I was like, sign my name. I was like, I don't even need to hear anything else you have to say. So I signed up, and it's been absolutely magical. Beautiful community of beautiful women doing different things, and it's like I feel seen. I talked about my issue was a lot about self-expression and speaking my truth, and it's been a safe space, a space that holds me accountable about expressing my truth, and it's been nothing short of miraculous.
Yes. So tell us how you were behaving around your content, around this metaphysical work, around your visibility before coming into the community, and what has your visibility and expression been like since being in the community?
Well, I wasn't visible. I hadn't made any content in like a year, but I was like burning with things I want to talk about.
I know.
If you know me, like I always keep these note cards around, and I always write down ideas. And I have like a stack of these ideas, but I was like, no, I don't want people at work to see me. No, I don't want my friends to see me. And it got to the point where I got into the womanhood community, and Naima was like, when are you going to do this? And I was like, I am. And it was like Naima's loving pushing that made me finally release. And it was like when I released that first big piece of content, the one where I talked about these kind of things, It was like my soul was set free. It was like, my inner girl that I felt like, with the tape over her mouth was just like, I can speak again. So it's been great. I feel like, obviously I'm building a business where, teaching women how to bloom, especially women over 40. That's another thing I love to talk about because I'm over 40 and I found that metaphysical principles also make you pretty.
Look, let's get into the practicality of vanity, baby, okay? Because I'm here to look good, okay? And to feel good. Let's go. Well, hold on. That's a t-shirt. Metaphysics makes you pretty. I love that. Oh my God. Yes. Did y'all hear that? Hey. Metaphysics makes you pretty. Explain that.
Well, we are, there's what I physically look at, right? Our atoms are made of 99% space, energy, and 1% actual, tangible, touch it, feel it, hear it, matter. Most of what you are made of is made of energy. Like I said, and I love metaphysics because energy is behind everything. It drives everything, and including your own beauty. Your aura, the idea of your aura, right? Our aura, our chi, our prana, our essence. 99% of our aura and our beauty is made up from energy.
Yeah.
So when you work on your energy, I love my scale, my consciousness scale.
Yes.
We move up the consciousness scale from lower, shame and grief and trauma and anger, and we move into love and joy.
And authenticity.
Our face. You can see that when you see someone in love, that's why they glow. When you see someone going through a really stressful time with a toxic narcissistic partner, that's why they look so dead and tired. It's all energy. It's the same thing applies to every area of life. So.
And that might be one way to sell it. You know what I mean? Sell it through the vanity lens because, baby, women want to look good, okay? Women want to look damn good. I love that. Does anybody have any questions so far? We're getting ready to wrap up here. So what I'm taking away from this, and I think I speak on behalf of many, many women, to take away from our time here together today is be selfish. Focus on your thriving. And when I say selfish, I don't mean being mean to other people and denying other people, right? Because I know selfish has a negative connotation. No, I mean be self-interested in your thriving. Prioritize your thriving. Because I know, and I know Felian knows, that life is just better. It's just better when you're thriving. When you look forward to getting out of the bed. When your body feels good. When you like what you see, when you look in the mirror, when you like engaging in your day. Come on. You know what I mean? And if you mad at this and doing all of this heavy shit all the time and doing everything out of obligation because you have to, because you're not going to be very pleasing to be around and you're not going to feel inspired to even take care. That's terrible. When you're not even inspired to keep up your skincare routine, you're not even inspired to make sure you drink your beet juice every morning, right? You're not even inspired to learn how to do your makeup in this particular way that you saw that you really like, but you need to practice it so you can get good at it. And, you know what I mean? You're not going to even be inspired to do all of that if you're not thriving, if you're not feeling good most of the time, okay? So, Felian, thank you so much. So, in wrapping up what you were sharing about before you came into the community, you were not visible. And then you came into the community, you finally started talking about in your content what you wanted to talk about. And you didn't want to talk about it because you were concerned of judgment, right? What are the people at my job going to think? What are other people going to think? And now that you put out, girl, you've been on a roll. Felian has put out so much content in the last, 10 days or something like that. You are on a roll. Your voice is, and see, everyone here didn't hear you when I heard you at the Womanhood initiation. Your voice is clearly liberated. You're talking fast. It's up. It's, on your scale, it's in the higher echelon of the scale. And it's just to be on the receiving end of this, Felian. Thank you so much for saying yes, because you could have said no. Thank you for listening to the call over your life. Thank you for saying yes to me. And being an example for all the women who can see your face and feel you, the folks who will see you in the replay and live on YouTube, and for even, the invisibleness of how this aura permeates the collective. Thank you. Thank you for your example. It matters tremendously. Thank you. So you were going to say something else?
May I add a final point to this conversation around Black women, melanin-dominant women? You said, what can we do? And we talked about being selfish as fuck, because that's what I say. I said, don't be selfish as fuck. What we can do, there's this whole idea of soft life and soft living. The best thing Black women can do is move towards a softer life. We've been like revolutionaries and this and that. Go for your happiness. You're as soft as you can get it, as joyful, as blissful, as happy as your life can be. Will do wonders for your family, for Black men, for the world. The best thing you can do for yourself and for the world is to be happy as fuck.
Yes. The best thing you can do for yourself and for the world is to be happy as fuck. That's what Falion just said, in case you missed it, YouTube. Toya said, proud of you, Falion. Broaden said, ready to be more visible. Great perspective. Someone asked the question, what was your most revolutionary realization during your expansion? You want to answer that, Falion? What was your most revolutionary realization during your expansion?
Well, I talked about the experience of like being so in love with the law of attraction and like trying so hard and getting nowhere. And it was not until I started working with the subconscious mind that my life shifted. So my most revolutionary experience was learning how to reprogram my subconscious mind, because that will do everything. And like you'll see, if you see my content, it only takes 90 days to change a paradigm, which is reinstalling new software in your subconscious mind. And when you do that, everything opens up.
And so if there's any other questions, now's the time to ask them, because we're getting ready to close out. What I will say in closing, Falion, to piggyback on the absolute power of the unconscious mind, okay? And you said subconscious. We're using them interchangeably, subconscious, unconscious, for anybody here who may be wondering. I created shadow gold. Let me repeat, shadow gold. Let me repeat this, shadow gold. Falion, when I say shadow gold, what do you hear?
Well, I got something to say. Shadow work is actually my next piece of content. Shadow work is the most important work you will ever do. So that I know that Naima knows that. When you tend to your shadow, which is the stuck energy between your current reality and your desired reality, your habits, your traumas, your triggers, whatever, you will find gold. If you tend to your shadow, you will absolutely find gold. That's what it means to me.
It is available to everyone here now who wants it, by the way. It's at the link in my bio. There are about 5 options there. And the final option on the bottom is shadow gold. So anybody who is ready to do this work of shadow work that Falion and I have talked about, but do it with an emphasis on your primal sexual energy, you can go to the link in my bio or in the description here on YouTube and get shadow gold right now. I created shadow gold. I've been in the coaching and mentoring space for 12 years. I came onto the internet for the first time in May of 2011. And I've created literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of pieces of content. I know I have over 400 videos on YouTube alone, and hundreds of videos all throughout Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, inside of courses, other people's walls where we did joint live streams, etc. And in my 12 years of working very closely with women all over the world of different socioeconomic backgrounds, everybody, and I mean everybody, no matter if she's well paid or she's sleeping on her mother's couch, everybody is dealing with shadow stuff. And I want to say this about the shadow, because shadow work is talked about a lot on the internet. And I just hear a lot of ignorance when people talk about it, and they don't realize it because they're hearing other people talk and they're just sort of regurgitating. If something is in your shadow, you literally don't know it's there. You don't know it. If you can name it, it's not a shadow. I want to emphasize that to everybody here. If you can say, yeah, I'm my shadow is that I'm scared of judgment. That's not the shadow, because you can identify it. The reason why the shadow has so much power in your life, so much influence, is because you cannot see it. It's like the hand that controls you like this and has you doing things and saying, why can't I break this pattern? Because it's controlling you like this. Why is it that no matter how much I want this reality, no matter how much I want to make this money, no matter how much I try to date different, no matter how much I try to advance with this, and no matter how much I try to do it, I keep finding myself in behaviors over here that I don't like? That is shadow activity that's influencing your behavior. I repeat, your shadow you cannot see. What you can see is what your life looks like now. So we start there. Well, oftentimes when you're by yourself and you don't want to invest in yourself, you start there. Well, what does my actual life tell me about what's important to me? A great witch that I know, her axiom is having is evidence of wanting. Meaning what your life looks like right now is what you actually want. No matter what you are telling yourself about, I know I'm meant to be rich, or I'm supposed to, and I'm dream of this, and I'm supposed to. Look around at your bank account. Look around at how you spend your days. Look around at your dominant emotional state. Look around at what your house, your car, what everything looks like. That's what you actually believe. Okay, that's what you actually want. So if you're living in a house you don't want to live in, if your finances are not what you want it to be, if your relationship situation is what you don't want it to be, and consciously you're like, I don't want this, I don't want that, I want, what I really want is this, what I really want is that. If you really want that money, that relationship, that situation, you want to take your behind to what's going on in your shadow, and shadow gold give you exercises to get underneath your current behavior, underneath your hidden patterns. But you gotta actually do it. You gotta actually do it. You gotta actually do it. Such an emphasis. And so the reason why I talk about it from a primal level and from a sexual level, and why I said earlier that the game changer for melanin dominant men and women is when we start using sex deliberately and having a school where we deliberately cultivate and have sex and mate with each other, is because sex power is the single power that if we don't do nothing else, but focus on every sex power and everything that's in relation to it, because it's life force. Everything that will hit everything else. It's sort of like, don't start with the smaller things, start with the thing that's most potent, and it trickles down into everything else. Sex is potent. When you focus on sex power, it will trickle down into money. You focus on sex power, it will trickle down into community. You focus on sex power, it will trickle down into relationships. You focus on sex power, it will trickle down into the collective. Is this making sense for Lion? And because it's so potent is why there's so much fear around it. And no, and what you mean, and jumpiness and fear and shame, and because it's so potent. You start unlocking that. Now you starting to fuck with actual keys to the universe. Now you starting to fuck with the superconscious mind. Now you starting to fuck with the grid that this planet is surrounded by, that keeps humans locked in a particular way collectively. Then we start talking about true infinity. And listen, you see, that's a whole other elevated way of being. What you want to say about that, Felian? I see you.
I was like, woo! That is very potent, and it is very true. It is the most it is raw power, and I'm just like, woo! My little
Wow.
perverted, shy self is like, woo, woo, but she's right though. Woo, she's right though. But it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And especially because I don't know, I feel like sex is such an overused,
It's been dirtied. It's been dirtied. And there's a lot of ignorance and shame around it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it just seems to be, lack a lot of beauty and meaning around from what I see, like my little shy introverted self, but it just seems to be just so trashed. And I'm like, wow, if what you're saying could actually happen, I get really excited for the possibilities.
That's where I live. Excited about and willing to engage in these dark places because I got somewhere to say about this. The willingness to engage in these dark spaces because it's very exciting to talk about in a TikTok live, where we're going to be hanging up here any moment and right. But to actually get into the power, right? Because this is the level I'm at. This is where I live. This is what I know. This is what I'm available for. One, this is why Shadow Gold exists. So if you all here are sincere about this kind of sex power and the ability to go get Shadow Gold right now. And it's exciting, right? So who was that here who said, wow, wow? I see somebody is like, wow, 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 right? Energetically, you can feel the wow of it, right? Like the vast wow of it. And most of us have so much shame, so much ignorance, so much lack of awareness, so around sex power, not just the dick and the pussy and we going, right? Because that's what you're talking about when you say it's been so trashed. It's just been trashed by modern day. Put the dick in the pussy until he come and then it's over. So it's dirtied in a way, right? A reduction of its actual value and potency. What I'm talking about is actually getting to know everything that even surrounds pre physical penetration and moving through the sensation of it all, because that's where vast knowledge begins to enter. It's like entering a mystical state. Okay. Like, how do we get into this mystical state when we're resistant to it to begin with? Where instead of trying to get there, right? Because sex is about getting there. Keep going. Oh God, yes. And it's like climax, and then we sleep, right? Climax, and then we leave. Climax. So it's always about getting there, reaching when so you enter. So much of it is before the penis even enters the vagina. Starting at how you even feel about this conversation. How about 30 of us in a room? This is part of what I was looking to do inside of my heart retreat in Atlanta that didn't happen. What was this, 2 years ago? Where 30 of us, 50 of us are in a gorgeous space. I had rented a penthouse at the Four Seasons in Atlanta. Okay. Put down a deposit and everything. The shit was going to be talking about power, raw power. How about 30 of us in the room? But here's the thing, before we even get to the room, all of that has knowledge in it. This is what I mean by the reverent way, the dedication, the true intent. 30 of us in a room in a penthouse at the Four Seasons, male, female, melanin dominant. First of all, how about that? In a room, quiet, just looking at each other. Breathing, just looking. How about we stand 2 feet apart, face to face, just looking at each other? We don't say nothing. We just look at each other and breathe. What knowledge is there? What sensation is there? We sit down and share a meal together. And instead of just yapping, right, because we don't like the feeling of silence for too long, we're uncomfortable with silence. We got so much sensation in our body and we're judging ourselves and got so much chatter of the ego going on that we deliberately practice being still with each other. Not talking, just eating, noticing each other, feeling each other. What knowledge is there? What bubbles up there? Again, there's no penis in the vagina at this point. This is just being present with each other. Feeling that. Do you feel what's happening? Do you feel this, Felian? This is the beginning. This is how we enter the mystical state. Before we start talking about, because we need to get a nut and get a release, because I need to fuck. See?
Absolutely. I was thinking that what you were saying, like sexual energy isn't just about the act of sex. Like monks, Tibetan monks, they cultivate their sexual energy, like that meditation and that eating well and all that stuff. That's still cultivation of sexual energy. People that are celibate or abstinent are still cultivating sexual energy. So there's so much good material even before the act of sexual intercourse.
Somebody said, who was that? Salon said just that would resolve so much between us. I'm telling you, you get into raw sex power. Because I haven't done a good job. I told you I lose track of doing all of that. When we agree to get into dealing in pure power. See, and this is a whole other conversation that gets us into when we start dealing in pure power, all of the binds that we have agreed, when I say we, I mean man and woman, melanin dominant, have agreed to keep ourselves locked, all of that would have to be confronted. Marriage, right? Like, I can't do this. I'm a married woman, right? You feel some arousal. You're in the presence of a melanin dominant man in this space, and now you feel an arousal and you don't know what to do with arousal. Like every time arousal comes up in your everyday life, you look away, you cut yourself, you lie. And what would happen if you just let yourself be with the sensation and make a deliberate act to rest in that space? And you're being facilitated through the whole experience. You're not by yourself trying to figure it out, but you are feeling your way through. And just like you're feeling him, he's feeling you, and we're not exchanging any words. Or maybe there's very few words that are exchanged deliberately. I was trying to do this in Atlanta 2 years ago. And you know what happened? All the women wanted to come. No men were showing up. I was stopping women from buying tickets because I told them I'm only willing to do this if it's men and women. I'm not trying to have 20 women in the room and 4 men be there. We're not doing that. Maybe 20 women and 15 men, right? But I'm not about to have a room full of women and just a few men. That's not the experience that we're looking to curate here. But this, what I just described here, I want to do this with the right 2 or more, because we're dealing with power. We're dealing with power, and you need somebody who's not going to freak the fuck out when vast power wakes up in the room. Even before we get there, the vast power that will start to wake up. This is what I mean by trekking ourselves into mystical states as melanin dominant people. This is vast. So when I tell you I live in the domain of true love, which is vast power, this is what I'm talking about. All that other shit, y'all can keep that and go talk about that on podcast. I live in the domain of true love, vast power, full power. We can't hear you, Falayan.
Oh, I said it's juicy. I was thinking about how, like in terms of metaphysics, a lot of healing is done through the 7 chakras, right? Moving towards your base chakra all the way up to your crown chakra. But once that work is done, we have kundalini energy, which is sexual energy. So it's like, it really speaks to your point. Once you work through those major human blocks, as they go up, like around home and security and the body and shame and da-da-da-da-da, and you work your way up through the crown chakra where a being is at the point of not even enlightenment, because it's not even that deep, but just like having a better command of themselves in an energetic field, then we have this thing called kundalini that starts to wake up and move up the spine, which is essentially sexual energy. And it's what causes you to become like this like ultra magnetic being, they say, and that's driven by sexual energy, whether it's expressed in sexual sex, the act of sex or not, it's a force that causes you to create and create well and create things that are good for you and the world around you.
Exactly.
So yeah, I really like the idea. But again, like, yeah, you need your counterparts. So you need a balance between men and women, because there's so many good things. Like just how good that sounds, and I'm like, sign me up. It can only get so good. It can only get good once balance is achieved.
This is it. This is what I care about. It's not, it has yet to happen in the physical. but I've been sitting in wait with this for years. Years. And because of the work that I have done and continue to do, the life I live, the needle that I sit at, the center point at which I do life, I know that it takes skilled people who care. And why I constantly say the right two or more. Because the abandoning, how shit can get intense and people will abandon. No, we need a fortress, a solid fortress of people who are like pillars. Like I said, the right two or more who are pillars. But you need to be so willing in your being. You need to be so skilled, so purified through true shadow work, experientially. Not this because somebody on YouTube told you how to do shadow work, but you actually engage in the experiential exercises that excavate and purify you, because then everything that you currently run from and that you like if I were to DM you right now, Javon, and be like, hey, Javon, can we get on the phone? I want to talk to you about raw sex power. Would you say yes? Would you have a true conversation? Say, Javon, let's get on TikTok live and talk about it. Let's get into some shame around sexual power of men. Like, could you, like anything that can make you run and say no and doubt and let me go think and pray and meditate, which is just fear masquerading. You know, let me pray about it. Let me think about it. I'll consider it. Maybe, I don't know. Let me think. Let me go talk to the ancestors, and all the different things. When your Kundalini is activated, just like this. Even before somebody contacts you. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I felt this call coming. I felt this invitation coming. You're just tapped in a whole different kind of way. I'm researching this. Okay, so this is going to happen. So let me get ready to. And so when that's on, you don't have to be like, well, let me go meditate. Let me go pray. So anything that would have you run, anything that would have you doubt, anything that would have you do like this when a powerful being enters your space and then cling to whatever you would cling to that would keep you bound, that you can never be one of the right two or more that could be solid pillars in the room for this raw power inside of a penthouse at the Four Seasons. You know what I mean? Did you just say I want that?
Want that. I love penthouses. I love Four Seasons. My favorite hotel is the Hilton, but yeah, I love stuff like this. Like, you talk about, Naima, I know you get it. The more beauty and luxury and juiciness, like it breaks down walls. And I was also going to be interested to know if you'd have the same result if you did it now. Because this is what I've noticed. I feel like, we're very intuitive beings, right? We pick up trends and truths and stuff, right? And I'm seeing this shift, another shift. This is another thing that I see that's really good that's happening. We all lived through the 2000s, right? Where it was like, Instagram baddie. I want to date an Instagram baddie. And I'm seeing a trend in black men, and I could be wrong. This could be just my own lens. But I'm seeing this trend of black men being like, yeah, the Instagram baddies weren't quite it. They cause a lot of drama. Maybe we should actually look for women that actually serve our soul and not just our lust. You know what I mean? So all that to say, I'd be interested to see if that was like the same split that happened this year versus that year. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, right. Well, I put it out there in not a strong thought, but I put it out there that I'd love to do it this Christmas. Because I love Christmas. So that was a joyful way, right? When we talked earlier about make sure you thrive, because then that benefits everybody else. I was like, I would love to do it in December because I love Christmas. So the spirit of that would fuel me to be a good pillar and steward for this. You know what Devon says, sharing a comfortable silence. No, it's sharing a very uncomfortable silence. See, this is what I mean. Sharing a very uncomfortable silence. You expect your path to freedom to be comfortable? You expect your path to being a global leader of thriving of the collective of us to be comfortable? Do you? Do you expect that being in the presence of powerful melanin dominant women who are excavating themselves and all their shadow, dark, shame parts is going to be comfortable? Do you imagine that you being witnessed in your shame would be comfortable? This is not a comfortable path. Not at all. And this is why the men didn't show up. You can feel it before your arrival. This is why the men didn't show up. Yeah, at a level there is. I see. Okay. So we're going to go now. I feel like we peaked very gorgeously and it's time for us to go. So if you know you need excavation, so I want to reiterate two things right now. Are you crying, Toya? I want to reiterate two things right now. If you are ready for the power that Falayan has been sharing, that the woman community has helped her to step into in just a very short time. Like we ain't even started, as I have told the ladies. We ain't even started, and folks are already seeing wonderful results. If you know you are ready for community, you need community, you are hungry for community, you're ready to be seen and you're ready to see others, okay? You are ready to be visible in your content online and talk about the things that you may be currently afraid to talk about. The way Falayan was worried about the people at my job gonna see me, these other people who I know gonna see me talking about metaphysics and the universe and what? Who's this black woman talking about the universe? What kind of woo-woo shit is this, right? And you're ready to be seen. You're ready to engage in this true connection work, feminine work. Be seen, tell the truth, be uncomfortable. And you're prepared to invest $99 a month. Bring yourself into the Womanhood initiation. We're actually getting ready to have the first one in about 35 minutes. We're only having 4 this week and this week only. Doors close on Sunday, okay? So if you're ready for this community, support, accountability, love, connection, advancement of your feminine power, go to the link in my bio and sign up for Womanhood Initiation. Hey, Womanhood Initiation. And the link to sign up for the initiations are also in the description here on YouTube. Secondly, if you need to start excavating yourself, if you know you need to start getting good with raw power, sex power, shame, all the undesirable, dark, embarrassing, shameful parts of yourself, and you want something high level, at a primal level, feminine level, full power level, and you're truly ready for this level of work that's highly uncomfortable, highly, because it works. Because it works. Take your powerful ass to the link in my bio and get Shadow Gold now. If you need to have a conversation with me, I'm happy to get on the phone if you are sincere about your full power and looking at which of my resources is best for you right now. If you cannot afford Shadow Gold right now, start with Heal Your Witch Wound. All of this is at the link in my bio. It's also, all these links are in the description. So if you cannot afford, genuinely cannot afford Shadow Gold right now, your next best step is Heal Your Witch Wound and also coming into the woman community, okay? Again, I'm happy to have a phone conversation with anybody here who's sincere about their full power and using one of my tools to help you get there. Toya said this makes me feel more confident. Yay! All righty, Falayan, any closing words?
Just invest in yourself. A lot of us tend to be cheap with ourselves, but part of leading into your soft life, your thriving, is to invest in yourself and learning how to spend money on yourself. And some stuff is worth every dollar. I would have paid 10 times this to be with Naima, so I definitely love you to jump in.
Thank you so much. And I swear I better see your black ass in Italy. All the time I like Italy. Well, you better bump it up to love. You better engage your metaphysics and get it up to love. I tell you that.
Like Italy. I said I love Nice. I liked Italy. I like it just fine. I was just like
I heard that. And what I said is, you need to use your consciousness scale to get that like up to love so you can
Yes,
get your
ma'am.
behind over to Italy. That's what I said. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you all so much for being here. Thank you everyone who shared the live stream, who engaged, who gave wonderful words to Felian and I. And I look forward to returning here at some point. Thank you so much, Felian. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being an example for all of us.
Just great.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.